Welcome to Like a Bomb, a podcast about powerful women from the past and present.
Not fragile like a flower.
Fragile like a bomb. Welcome to episode 6 of Like a Bomb.
We made it
I'm
to
Bailey.
6.
Should always do intros at the beginning, maybe.
I am Jill and/or Mom.
Yeah, the mother-daughter duo of this podcast.
I did think about something yesterday, how when we refer to your sister, my other daughter.
Yes.
I don't know that we have actually used her real name.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, we have? We've used her real name?
Yes.
Do we just use her real name?
Some variations of it, but yes, her real name.
Okay, well, shout out to Piper. If we say every other version of your name, Epilotica. We call her everything. It's always the same person. Just wanted to say that because I think pretty much we call her all kinds of different things.
I'll usually call her Pip.
Yeah, sometimes I call her Pip. Rarely do we call her Pippi. Sometimes we do.
That's been a long time.
Yeah, usually it's Pip. But I call her Pipilotica and Spider Monkey just to annoy her because I love her so much.
And I get Shorty.
You are Shorty.
I'm how many inches taller than you?
Yes, but you've been Shorty since you got so upset when I called you Booger Butt. And then I called your sister Booger Butt. And then you were so upset. And so I couldn't call anybody else Booger Butt. And I wasn't a lost at the time. And Piper was a newborn. And I didn't know what to do. So I named you Shorty. And then,
yeah, very chaotic time for all sorts of other reasons.
Yes, lots and lots of reasons. But yeah, that's when you became Shorty because you were like 10 feet tall at 3. And your sister was a tiny little pipsqueak.
Yeah. I mean, she was a preemie, so she is tiny.
Yeah, she's tiny. But I thought about that yesterday, that we probably call her a lot of different names. And I don't know if we were ever clear that her name was Piper. So figured I'd throw that out there.
And we've used Piper when we called her a cryptid in the first episode.
Ah, she is. She's a spider monkey.
No, I decided she's Mothman.
Oh. And she was going to put Mothman in one of the pictures that for the Cats Gallery, and then she realized it would be too chaotic. But I have Bigfoot in one of the cats.
I have the Cthulhu Squishmallow, and I have a crocheted Cthulhu from one of the local artists here that made that.
All my stuffed animals they haven't been pulled out yet. I need to figure out where I'm going to put the hammocks at.
True. I have a bunch of stuffed animals on our headboard. So we just have a mix of both of our stuffed animals on our headboard and our bed.
I do have the Pooh that I sleep with. Winnie the Pooh, not like Poop Poop.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on my bed. So because I sleep with him.
We have a lot of stuffies on the headboard. We have a couple Squishmallows. The Winnie the Pooh little Squishmallow you got me that's like...
Yeah.
The really small one, like the 4-inch one or whatever it is. That one's there. My little axolotl, my angry strawberry, and a few others. A bunch of our collection of stuffies. And then we have some different stuffies upstairs. Like I have the Pusheen that Mr. cuddled with before I went to college. The Mr. and Socks Beanie Babies and things.
Yeah, I think most of my stuffed animals are in hiding for right now until I figure out where I'm going to put the hammocks will probably be in the spare bedroom. I did hang 2 pictures in there. So there is a big Wonder Woman and my Imagine poster that I did get something.
I do like your Imagine one.
That's in there. And I haven't figured. I may tell Piper when we're away, and since she'll be here, here's a bunch of pictures you can put up in the room and see what she does.
Decorate.
Yep, see what she does. Go from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, on a fun, exciting note, I was at work Thursday.
This is fun and exciting?
Yes, I was at work all week, but I'm trying to remember what day it happened. And so I had mentioned to some coworkers about the podcast. And, we mostly gear this towards women, but like it's open for
Yeah,
anyone.
please.
And so 2 guys listened to it. They both say you have a great radio voice, a great speaker
Ooh.
voice, so which
Ooh.
makes sense as a teacher.
Change over careers.
Wow. And so one of the guys, he was walking past my cube to get to his, and he just started quoting, "Not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb." And I'm like, "Wait, you listened to it? Oh, cool. What'd you think?"
Yay. Yeah, I was making a bulletin board. I always call them billboards. Bulletin board, because we had to do
Mhm.
one for the 8th grade because we had open house, meet the teacher, whatever you call it, on Friday.
Mhm.
And one of my colleagues was looking at it. She was helping me, and I was like going through the things in my head, and I was like, and I got to get the stuff ready for the podcast. And this is just because I talk out loud. I realized I talk in stores to myself, and I keep telling myself I gotta stop talking
I'll
to
do that
myself in
sometimes
public.
too.
And she's like, "Do you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
So I don't know if she's listened to it yet. I'll see her tomorrow.
So I can get some data from Spotify that'll tell me some analytics of like age, but that doesn't tell me much.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
then
I
like
know.
gender, of course, too.
Yeah, some things don't do as much data as other
No.
platforms, but we just want everybody to hear all these wonderful stories.
Yeah, and in fact, I brain fart. Um, I didn't even know who to talk about last night. So I'm like, who
No.
do I talk about? Who to talk about? Oh, something modern, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I
Um,
need to do more modern things. I still haven't figured out what I'm doing Dolly, but I did get another Dolly book for free. What did I get? Hold on. I can't move.
nice.
Uh, so I'm probably making all kinds of noise. I
Mm.
have the coat of many colors that I got at the thrift store, I think. And it has the Spanish and the English. And then I
Mhm.
got the other day, I got Dolly Parton, I Am a Rainbow. And so you can
Oh,
tell it's geared it for much younger, but it's really cute. It goes through different colors and says things. So I was excited when I have Dolly Parton kids books
yes.
that I'm not taking to
Um,
school.
I don't think there's a kid's book on the person that I'm covering, but she is a more modern person. Um, if you're ready to dive into stories, oh, at some point I need to sell my car. I need to sell Murphy. I'm gonna decide that I'm gonna sell it on Facebook Marketplace probably because I will get like 3 times more at least than what CarMax
Oh,
is offering me, while
yeah.
also cutting down several thousand than what they would sell it for.
Yeah. The car dealerships don't ever. The only reason
Wow.
we traded in your sister's car for her new car was because there was nothing else we could do with it, and we could get.
The engine was busted,
Yes, so we got a decent amount considering the engine blew at 60 some thousand miles, and I'm still mad about
which
that.
is highly messed up.
I paid too much for that car. But yeah, well, I'm just excited that I came up with the name for mine finally.
Yeah, yours is Lorelei.
Yes. Are you
Mine's
ready?
Ravioli, because I'm so original. It's a very common thing to name the Rav4 is a ravioli, and it's
Eh,
super cute. I got it from my rowing coach because her Rav4 is ravioli.
I think it's cute.
Yeah, there it is. I was looking at trying to find my downloaded version of the flyers, which I still need to put up flyers around here. I haven't gotten around to doing that.
I need to check with your sister and see if
And
she put
post it
any
on
up.
Snapchat and be like, look, come look at the podcast, because I know some friends would like to. I don't want sound. I want text.
Are you ready to tell me a story?
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know who to do last night, so I was just going to bed. And I'm like, who should I talk about? And so I decided, well, I've been seeing lots of things more about her, um, and different Instagram or TikTok things. And so I'm doing Hayley Williams. Hayley Williams, that is the lead vocalist of Paramore.
Oh, okay.
So, as example, she is still active as a singer and performer with Paramore. They're currently on tour. I think they were one of the openers for Taylor Swift
Oh,
recently. I don't know.
Wow.
I've not checked up on her recent tour status, but I do see clips of her on tour, and she's still very active and energetic, and everyone loves her performance. Um, so Hayley Williams was born December 27th, 1988, and she's known as a singer and a songwriter. She is, as I mentioned, the lead vocalist and the only constant member of Paramore, which she co-founded in 2004. Um, she was raised in Mississippi, but then her parents divorced when she was 13, and then she moved to Franklin, Tennessee, which is just outside Nashville. So she moved to Nashville, and she later formed Paramore alongside Josh Farro, Zach Farro, and Jeremy Davis. Paramore's released 6 studio albums. All We Know Is Falling 2005, Riot in 2007, Brand New Eyes 2009, self-titled Paramore 2013, After Laughter 2017, and This Is Why in 2023, after quite a bit of hiatus. Um, and so some of her, really her only non-Paramore, like her solo work, was the song Teenagers for the soundtrack of Jennifer's Body in 2009. And she's done some other collabs with The Chariot, Octoberfall, Newfound Glory, Set Your Goals, and Zed. And then in 2010, she was featured on the single Airplanes by B.O.B., which peaked number 2 in the US Billboard Hot 100. So a lot of just, her big musical things, achievements, and like performances and whatnot. Oh, apparently she was a guest verse with Eminem.
Oh,
And went to the song sequel, Airplanes Part 2. She has gained a nomination for the Grammy Award for the Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals with that song. And then in 2023, she featured on Taylor Swift's re-recording of the Speak Now album. She also released solo EPs, Petals for Armor 1 in 2020 and Petals for Armor 2 also in 2020. And then the full-length album of Petals for Armor in 2020. So she really likes that name, it seems. So besides music, she has been part of this music series called Kiss Off. Don't know what that is. Didn't look into it. But she also has this hair dye company called Good Dye Young, as in D-Y-E dye. I like that Good Dye Young. They have really good hair dye. In fact, let's see. I got some of their non-permanent, like one-day washout hair dye because my hair is so short. I don't want to bleach it because it's
yeah.
red, and I'd like to keep it red, natural color. But you have I can't even find it. But yeah, it's the one-day washout, but it's a nicer cream. It's better than some of the hairspray stuff in elementary school we would do for crazy hair day and stuff.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
I'll look into that because I don't want to dye my hair.
Yeah. She's also been known for certain orange and hair color. That was like one of her notorious things. She's dyed it a bunch of different colors. So she actually formed Good Dye Young with her hairstylist. And it's pretty cool. I still get so many texts and emails I need to get off the list because I haven't bought hair dye in months and I don't use it that much. I think I've used the hair cream like twice because I don't put it on my full head because that's expensive and a lot of hair dye.
Yeah.
Some of the fun facts on early life, because mind you, the best source right now is Wikipedia with all of her things in one convenient article. So, as I mentioned, Hayley Williams was born in Mississippi in 1988. She has 2 younger half-sisters, and one cool little fun fact is her childhood neighbor was the future NBA player Rodney Hood.
Oh,
so she knows someone else famous. And so when she was 13, she moved to Franklin, so Nashville. She met future Paramore bandmates Josh and Zach Farro at her new school. And so after settling in the Nashville area, she began taking vocal lessons with Brett Manning. And while she was at school, she tried out for a local funk cover band called The Factory, where she met another Paramore bandmate, Jeremy Davis. And so before I go more into her music career and more specifics, besides the highlights of all her albums, one thing that I've come across that I did not search in depth with an article yet, but one of the reasons she's headlining for Taylor Swift is because they were both going in the music industry in the Nashville area at the same time. They're the same age and everything. So they're still good friends. Just a bit different in music. You have your typical pop, and now you have your pop punk.
Cool.
And in fact, that's leads to one of the interesting parts about Hayley Williams' music career, because she was discovered in 2003 by managers who Dave and I'm gonna ruin his name. It's Dwayne Brink and Richard Williams. So they signed her at 14 years old to a 2-year
Wow.
production deal. At the time, she was writing pop song with songwriters in Nashville. And so Williams was introduced to Hayley Williams. I'm assuming because not Richard Williams. I don't know why they do the last name when it just presented. She was introduced to Atlantic Records, which is a much bigger record deal.
Yeah.
And she signed to the label by Jason Flom. The label's original plan was for their new artist was to make her a solo pop artist. But Hayley did not want this. She said she wanted to be part of a band and play pop punk music. Which honestly worked out really well for her.
Yeah.
Example of her still touring, and also I think would have definitely been her and Taylor Swift would probably not have been much friends if they're both competing as two pop artists. Or maybe they would be better friends, who knows? But at least now she has her little niche, and then Taylor Swift had her niche, which goes to show they've both been very successful with. And so the label Atlantic obviously went with her wishes. She got to do a pop punk band, and she then formed Paramore with the Farrell brothers, Josh and Zach, and Jeremy Davis, the ones she met at her school. And Paramore was originally actually supposed to be with Atlantic Records, but the marketing department decided it'd be better for the image of the band to not be attached to a huge label. So they released their music with a cooler niche label, which I've know this one because a few other artists have been signed with this label, Fueled by Ramen, which is a very entertaining name.
Yeah.
And according to Hayley, the name Paramore came from the maiden name of the mother of one of their first bass players. And once the group learned the meaning of the homophone Paramore, secret lover, they decided to adopt the name using the current spelling they have, the Paramore, Paramore. And so their debut album came out when Hayley was only 16 years old.
Wow.
So I can't imagine being just a massive artist just going around at such a young age, especially signed on at 14 with a
Yeah.
record deal.
I mean, you don't even have a driver's license by then.
No, you can't do anything.
No.
And some of the little images on the side of the article right here, it shows her with different tours from 2007, 2010, and I think another one in 2014. I mean, she was 18, I think, in 2007, because it says she was 16 in 2005. So yes, she was 18 at Warped Tour.
Well, I mean, pop punk got popular in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah,
like with all of those bands coming out.
indeed. I am still very sad I never got to go to Warped Tour.
Yeah, you didn't miss
I mean,
much.
$50 was too much for us then, and we would have had to go at least 3 hours away to the closest venue.
Yeah, I went to one. It was okay, but I'm more old school punk, thus poppy punk. So there was very few bands that I actually really cared to see. But I
Oh
mean,
man, I know Knocked Loose was at one of the Warped Tours. I probably wouldn't have liked them then, but I like them now. And there's a lot of artists I've seen live these past however many years, 6 years since I've been going to concerts by myself, or at least in here where I am at living, not at home. um, and yeah, a lot of them were at Warped Tour, and I'm like, I could have seen you and so many others for significantly less than I am paying now, probably.
Probably. All the
I
fees and
mean, honestly,
everything.
some of the shows, let's see, who did I go see last? Okay, I did pay tickets to go see Beartooth. Those were like $40. I did not stay the whole time. I got too overwhelmed. Didn't even stay for Beartooth, the headliner, because I was just too much. Um, but that, the Warped Tour tickets were $50.
Yeah, but it's hot and you have to pay for water and everything else. And
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
I
I mean,
don't,
you still have to do that at all these other shows
I
for some of
know.
them. Because I went to Sad Summerfest and that was $55 last summer. It was like they're trying to bring back Warped Tour. It's not the same. You have significantly less artists, one stage.
Yeah. Well, Jenny and I, when I went up to Virginia a week or two ago, I'm not even sure of the times. She texted me and she's like, "Well, Friday night, Primus is playing." And I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "Never mind. They're $75 for general admission." I'm like,
Uh,
"Yeah, no,
yeah,
I
no,
don't
it's
need to go
okay.
see
Also,
Primus then."
the tangent of this is screw Ticketmaster and their monopoly and their greedy little fees. Oh, all the words I can say. I hate
Yeah,
Ticketmaster with a passion. Oh my god, if you really want to be enraged by Ticketmaster, and obviously, things are political and things have leaning, like obviously ours has our leaning. But Last Week Tonight with John Oliver has an episode where he talks about Ticketmaster and how much they suck.
yeah. I remember back in the day when like expensive tickets were like $35, but I'm also old, so
I paid $20 in 2018, early 2019, I think it was. It was early 2019 to go see a considerably still large band at the time, but also they came to a small venue here, so I mean, obviously it's different. But it's still $20 to see um, Knocked Loose. Yes, a metal band, so obviously it's not going to be as expensive because they're not as popular and like genre worldwide and things, but still, like it.
yeah, it's a capitalistic system, so we are what we are, but that's
Also,
okay.
monopolies that aren't
Yes,
supposed to exist.
yeah, but I mean,
Speaking of, Google was found in wrongdoing and actually considered a monopoly in whatever court case recently, so they have to do something. That'll be figured out soon.
okay, do we all get $5?
$5? I don't know.
I mean, I'll go buy a Happy Meal. I don't know what their toy is right now, though. Okay,
I think their toys are the pint glasses.
no, that's only if you get a big person meal. The meals are like
Oh,
10, like 8 or 10 or $11. You can
yeah, I don't
only,
know. I just see
yeah.
people being obsessed with those pint glasses.
Yeah, I think the glasses are cool, but when I looked it up, they were so expensive. And I was like, and I don't want a Big Mac or chicken nuggets. You give me a double cheeseburger or a quarter pounder with cheese, maybe we'll talk, but I don't want a Big Mac or chicken
Grammy
nuggets.
wants one.
I don't know.
Grammy was telling
Maybe.
me how she would go to McDonald's for her frappe or whatever every morning.
Yes, I finally got her to start using her app doing that because she's just not getting any rewards. But
Mm-hmm.
sorry, we digress.
Yes, no, and valid enough. We're talking about Warped Tour and things that Hayley Williams was a part of, and all sorts of other tours, um, and crazy hair colors. Like one of the pictures below the Warped Tour is her with bright orange hair, and then below it in 2014 is a like an aqua color. So I mean,
No.
back to her company. She's had all sorts of crazy hair colors, and they're cool on hairstyles. I mean, she's still super young and a massive public figure, so it makes sense. Continuing, it's signed in with Fueled by Ramen and launched their albums. Found out the meaning of Paramore, and they thought it was funny with Secret Lover. Um, some other things about the release of their albums, which we've already mentioned. And so in June 2009, the band welcomed Taylor York as an official member. He was on guitar. And he'd already been a touring member since 2007. And in 2010, the Farrell brothers left. The news was posted by Hayley on their website, with Josh later posting a blog confirming their departure, calling the group a manufactured product of a major label riding on the coattails of Hayley's dream. Not too far off. I mean, they were a major label originally signing, and they had signed her originally before and went, "We want you a pop star." And she went, "No, I want to be in a band." Um, and then 2006, Paramore toured outside the US for the first time. And which included a headline tour of the UK and supporting post-hardcore rock band The Blackout. Um, the following year, her and Paramore made an appearance in the music video for Kiss Me by New Found Glory. And in 2007, Kerrang! Readers Poll, she finished second to Evanescence Amy Lee in the Sexiest Female category. And then she went on to win the first place spot for Sexiest Female a year later, the 2008 poll, and again in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. I don't know. That feels a little odd just because she was like the youngest person probably running for those.
Yeah, but I don't think they consider age in those things. If
No.
you're a public figure, you're out there, and they kind of, that's the.
But I'm sure the unfortunate, thankfully, it looks. Okay, never mind. Her first album, she was 16. So there was probably a few people, like people have done with child stars, in very disturbing ways of counting down till they were 18.
Well, yeah.
So this also has a little suspicious feel to that regard.
I mean, not that any of it's good, but it's all about marketing and what sells.
And she was a young woman.
Yep.
And she's still pretty young. I mean, she's 10 years older than me, but she's still 35.
She's way younger than me.
And then in 2014, Hayley Williams was honored with the Trailblazer Award and Billboard's Women in Music Awards for making a unique mark in music and paving the way for other artists. In 2015, she starred as the Crimson Curse in Taylor Swift's music video for her single Bad Blood, alongside 16 other celebrities. And along with band member and co-writer Taylor York, Hayley was nominated for and won the Grammy Award for the Best Rock Song at the 2015 ceremony for the song Ain't It Fun. And in July 2015, she won the APMA for Best Vocalist. So already, getting some weird, if you look at a different point of views, the sexiest female categories when she was young, awards, and then actually important awards such as the Trailblazer Award and Grammys and things. She's already making a big name for herself, and she's she's not that old.
No.
She's in her early 20s. And so in 2019 interview, she was asked if she would stay in Paramore for a long time and answered, "And moving forward, if the three of us are happy, then we'll just do whatever we want to do." So that means collaborating with each other and bringing in friends or whatever they want to do. And, so she said, yeah, ultimately I want to be in Paramore. I've been in a band with them since I was 12. I don't think the band's going anywhere. As long as we're friends, the band just is. It's just in us. So lots of that is her big thing in her life, is that band. And obviously we've talked about some of her business ventures with Good Die Young. She was announced in 2013 she was partnering with MAC Cosmetics for a release of new makeup in 2013. So I feel like this is pretty natural. The 4-piece collection included a bright orange lipstick, an orange nail polish, and then a shimmery coral eyeshadow with beauty powder. Again, back to her signature orange that I feel like is just kind of Hayley Williams' known color. Yeah, and there's a few other things. She launched in 2015. She launched the online beauty music series Kiss Off on popular TV. Don't know what it's about, but okay. And And then 2020, November 2020, she released a candle in collaboration with the home fragrance brand Apothec. Words are hard.
Apothecary?
Apothecico.
I don't know what that is.
Interesting. Oh, and exciting. In 2021, March 2021, she announced her collaboration with Tea Huntress, a tea manufacturer in Nashville. So,
Oh,
tea.
well, there you go. That's close by to you.
Yeah.
Oldish.
Um, the exciting thing is this tea that she collaborates with is a portion of each of their sales will be donated to Thistle Farms, which is an organization that helps women survivors of trafficking, abuse, and addiction.
Wow.
And in 2016 to today, her big thing is still Good Die Young. Her dye company brand thing. Uh, so yeah, and she's still going with her artist Brian O'Connor. That's his name. They have all sorts of different colors, and then they have funny names, such as there's a purple called People Eater.
Okay. Well, I will probably look at that because, I mean,
Yes,
I like to dye my hair weird colors.
yes. And so there's a lot of other notes on her personal life. I think one thing I should know is what made her especially famous and still is one of the most famous songs is Misery Business. And it's kind of slut shaming another girl in the song. And I mean, she was young and she acknowledges that. Um, and, she's blaming, well, not blaming, but more citing that she was young and inexperienced, didn't really understand as the contributing factor for the misogynist lyrics. And she's described herself as a proud feminist, just not a perfect one. So she's done a bunch of other things. She's rather active in trying to, you know, help make the world a better place for how she expects it to be. For example, in 2020, when there was all the protests for the Black Lives Matter movement, she just handed her Instagram account to a Nashville-based activist group, Teens for Equality, to highlight their work in relation to that movement.
Wow. Because that reaches a lot because it's hers.
Yep.
That's
So,
cool.
yes, she is famous in a big figure. And, some people do the bare minimum, and some people, do a lot more. Like Dolly Parton does a lot more. And it's hard because you want to do a lot of things, but it's also great if you just do one niche thing, such as like the Green brothers, Hank and John Green, um, that you know from all sorts of different things. If anyone
Yes.
knows the name from like the books of like Fault in Our Stars and whatnot,
Yes.
um, just all that. So she's at least doing something. Um, and then there's the different stuff about more her um, music and all of that discography. And then her awards and nominations. Um, so Wikipedia, if you want to look up Hayley Williams and more specific details of her awards, but I've been talking about her for a while, and that is the big gist of her. We already know some of the awards she won, a lot of the albums she released, and that she is still very active. But before, I do have a very funny story about her, and then I'll wrap up talking about Hayley
Okay.
Williams. So she was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and there's a very popular shirt that's sold at their tours of an x-ray of her head and neck because she has injured herself from too much headbanging. Um, so yeah, anyone that's seen their shows can attest to the physical workout that Hayley Williams get during her performances. One of her frequent stage moves has been to headbang along with songs, and the singer reveals that during the band's hiatus, the years of headbanging finally caught up to her physically. And so, like I said, while she was on The Tonight Show, she revealed her headbanging injury to the host. And so she said the first 10 years of our career, we were always the youngest band out there. And the older dudes were like, oh, you're going to regret headbanging like that. And we're like, nah, you're just really old. So obviously she continued headbang and gave herself whiplash for a very long time. And during the hiatus, she woke up one morning, discovered she wasn't able to look to her left, and thought, it's my time to pay the piper. She says she knows a lot about neck bones at this point, and how her C5 and 6, the cervical vertebrae, were eroding and was called military neck. So she headbanged the curvature out of her neck, as she put it. It's become a huge part of her life. I mean, you have the band shirt of her x-rays that's on the band's website for $40, which is unfortunately a very standard price for a band shirt at shows, which sucks. And so she's been doing a lot of serious physical therapy and continues to work out that so she continued to handle the headbang.
Yeah, they used to warn us that you're going to get brain damage. That's what all the old folks would say. You're just going to get some brain damage. And so we're like, okay, we're good. But yeah, it's really not that great because you are doing a lot. And it's not just your head. There is so much more going on.
All of it.
Yep.
So yeah, she headbanged the curvature out of her neck. So if you want to...
That's dedication.
Paramore x-ray of Hayley Williams' neck. It's $40 on their website. So that's one of the funniest things I've come across recently. And yeah, that's all of Hayley Williams so far. She is still 35 and very active in the music industry. So we'll see later on what more she does.
Cool. Well, most of that was stuff I never knew. Never, ever knew.
Well, so how much did you know about Hayley Williams and Paramore before?
Tiny bit, just because I knew the name.
I mean, they played a Paramore song at our wedding.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the music. I don't think. I don't know.
You jumped in for some. I know we played Blink-182.
Yeah, I kind of jumped in more to just annoy your sister and Molly. So
everyone loved it. I think you jumped in, and then Grammy with her Halloween little hat,
horns. Oh, she had hat. Yeah, she
Piper
did.
Had the little clip-in horns.
Yeah, yep. I think I have to fix somebody's set of horns for Halloween. I can't remember. Somebody's got messed up. Well, cool. I didn't know anything about that, but I have already pulled up the hair dye website.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to bring everybody down because I'm
doing... Got any warnings for us beforehand?
I mean, it's death. There's death. Burning death.
Oh.
I don't really get into details, though. There's not really details. It's the Triangle Shirtwaist Company factory fire.
Oh, lovely.
So... And if you don't know what the shirtwaist part means, it's just they're manufacturers of women's blouses. So, well, a little bit about the building. So it's the Ash Building in Lower Manhattan in New York City. It is now called the Brown Building. It actually became a national landmark in 1991. The company was on the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors of the building. It was considered fireproof, and after the fire came through and all of its damage, the walls and the floors were barely damaged. Just everything inside. Yes. So, makes you think. And they never had a sprinkler system put in. And there's a reason why they think that. So, the owners were Blanc and Harris. And they were known for burning their other properties for insurance money. So they think that they didn't put the sprinkler system in case they decided they wanted to burn this building and for the insurance money. So they were actually the day of the fire, they were on the 10th floor. However, they were able to escape through roof access, that they were able to get to a neighboring roof and they were safe. Because the fire started on the 8th floor. So it started on March 25th, 1911. And it was about 500 to 600 workers are in the factory at the time. Most of them were young women from Italy and Eastern Europe. and many had just arrived in America. So, and I'm going to mention this later. There's Cornell University has an awesome page all about the fire. You actually can go in and read about every victim, and they have them listed alphabetically. There's newspaper article you can pull up the newspaper articles from then. It's a huge, wonderful archive for all the information. But when you click on each victim, you can learn a little bit. It's barely very much information. It's like the date they were born, how old they were, the first name on there, which was Lizzie Adler. She was 23. She'd only been in the country for 3.5 months from Romania. So most of these are pretty young women, and they're very new to the country, don't necessarily even speak the language very well because they've just come to America. And the employees worked 12 plus hour days, 7 days a week. And I saw a variety of different pay. So one thing said 6, one thing said 10, one thing 12, one said 15. Basically, they made between $6 and $15 a week, which in today's money is $191 to $477 a week.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot. It's below the poverty level.
Very much so.
Sadly, not that much less than what I make. So it started likely from a cigarette and a rag bin, since this is a fabric, company. They're making blouses. And after 4 on the 8th floor. And the employees in the rest of the building had already gone home from the day. So it was just this company that was in the building with 500 to 600 people.
That's awful.
And also in the Cornell website, you can actually see a floor plan of the 9th floor and see how much they shoved into just one floor. So the fire only lasted 18 minutes before firefighters were able to get it out or under control. And it killed between 145 and 148 people. 88% of them were women between the ages of 16 and 23. So here's the only really gross part. 34% of them burned or suffocated to death. 25% of them died in the elevator shaft, and I'll get more into that a little bit. 40% of them died jumping to the sidewalk out of desperation. 1% of them died later from their injuries. So this is happening in New York City, but it is in a time where there were not the safety regulations that we're used to. There weren't fire codes like we have. There were regulations. However, after all of this happened, they found there was a lot more corruption than people realized. You could just pay off, hey, we have sprinklers. Hey, those doors aren't locked. What are you talking about? And get away with it. Plus, like I said, it was considered a fireproof building. So if the buildings and the walls and the floors didn't really get much damage, why would you think that anything inside could? That's because fabric is like kindling. And so they were supposed to have buckets of water throughout each floor in case of fire, but they were empty on the day of the fire. The manager, so, their precautions were
piss poor.
Yeah. So the manager actually tried to use a hose to stop the fire, but the hose was rotten and the valve was rusted closed.
Oh, God.
So I think that would probably be the point where I had more anxiety, where it's like, there's nothing. Because you think, granted, we're growing up, we're in a time that's different. There are way more codes and way more restrictions and way more safety things and measures. But that's when you're like going, okay, well, at least I had hope for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they actually tried using the elevator. The elevator held 12 people and was able to make 4 trips before it became completely non-operational. And so the people left waiting for the elevator jumped down the shaft out of desperation to their death. And there was a 20-year-old Cecilia Walker Friedman. She used her muff, and if you don't know what a muff is, it is a circular hand covering to keep your hands warm. If you Google it, you can see it, but it's just a circular, take a throw, roll it up in a circle, put your hands in the end. It's kind of the same idea. She used that to hold on to the cables of the elevator shaft and slid down. She broke her arm and a finger. She got head injury, of course, and she had a burn across the length of her body. But she did survive. So employees were trapped in their workstations by large tables, machines. Most of the machines were sewing machines, which, by the way, some of these employees had to actually bring their own. Chairs and baskets. And if you go and look at the floor plan, you can see there's not a lot of room in between the way they had the table set up so that they could get max profit out of cramming everybody in. The door to the back stairwell was actually locked from the outside to reduce theft and to keep employees from, in quotes, sneaking breaks. Because if they're outside getting a breather, they are not working. So the door was locked from the outside, meaning when you got down to the door, you couldn't actually get out. So unfortunately, that means that the firefighters found a 6 feet high pile of bodies pressed against the back door.
Oh my God.
Because by the time they got down there, I mean, carbon monoxide and everything, even if the fire isn't touching you, if you can't breathe, you can't live. So they only had a narrow fire escape, only one, and it ended up buckling and collapsing under the weight of people attempting to escape. The firefighters' ladders only reach 6 to 7 stories, and if the fire starts on 8th story, the ladders can't get to you to save you.
Yeah.
So that's of no use. The fire nets, the ones that they do in cartoons to make it funny when people jump out of fiery buildings, they ripped from people jumping onto them. Granted, some of it was 2 to 3 women jumping at the same time. However, all these things have changed. They're better now.
Yes.
And many just chose to jump from the windows to the sidewalks to their deaths because they didn't want to burn to death. Which I understand. I can't imagine being in that situation and having to make that choice. And the same thing happened with 9/11. Some people chose to jump.
Slow and painful, or what's hopefully considered quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that, again, that's like the one thing I remember seeing footage of people jumping into the building because they didn't want to burn to death. And it was, I think at that point too, your body is saying, I need to escape this heat, this pain. And your body doesn't think, oh, when I escape it, this is what you're in a very irrational state too at the time. It took days for the victims to be identified by family and friends as a lot of them were unrecognizable from their burns. 6 victims were not identified to 2011. And that was done by a genealogist.
100 years until they were recognized.
Yep. And it says that all victims were interred in a New York cemetery under a monument in the New York Cemetery. There we go. Under a monument. But if you go to the Cornell website and you pull up I just clicked on a few of them. It says where they're buried, and the ones that I clicked on, they didn't even say they were buried at the cemetery. So I'm not 100% sure. It could just be there's a monument and maybe the unidentified ones were buried there. And so
maybe.
I'm not sure. But when I looked at a variety of places, it looks like they are buried in maybe they were, I think I would still bury my loved ones in a family plot versus putting them in a monument just for private reasons, I think. But 80,000 to 100,000 turned out to mourn the victims through a funeral procession that went down Fifth Avenue. The owners were actually indicted for manslaughter. However, they were found not guilty at trial by jury. And then, of course,
what the hell?
But from what I've read, and I haven't looked at the court transcripts, you actually can find those as well. Apparently the way the judge had instructed the jury when they were going to deliberate gave them very little options as far as, I think it was very extreme. Like, basically, did they straight up murder them? And if they didn't, then you have to make them not guilty. So, of course, many lawsuits were filed afterwards for wrongful death. However, the owners settled for $75 per victim to the families, which today would be $2,386.
That's
But,
nothing.
well, here's the worst part. The owners actually received $400 per victim from their insurance company, which today would be $12,726. So over 4 times what they actually paid out.
They don't like people.
If they settled, then that is, and I'm sure there was like gag orders when you settle, lots of things. From this, there was the creation of the Factory Investigating Commission, and this commission visited factories, all kinds of factories. It wasn't just clothing factories. It was, chicken factories, any kind of factory. They interviewed workers, they did public hearings, and 30 health and safety laws came out of this. Factory fire codes, child labor restrictions, labor laws across the country. If you actually go to the OSHA website, OSHA does have this story as on their website, has tons of links to a bunch of things. But it does recognize the fire as the start of change and advocacy, leading to, which OSHA's only been around for apparently a lot shorter than I thought.
Yes, no, it's very new.
Core missions. And by new, we mean like 60 years.
No, I know.
But it's still very, very new considering the industrial age was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, we learned about that in American history in high school. And I'm like, Are you kidding me?
No, it hasn't been around very long. And if you don't know what OSHA is, it's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So they're the ones who oversee at a federal level what's happening for safety. Like, if you slip and fall at work, OSHA's the one who, has all those regulations in place and gets you that workman's comp and things. I mean, they don't hand you the workman's comp, but they're the reason, there are regulations. So the victims from the fire are considered martyrs at the hands of the industrial greed, which I'm pretty sure if you ask any of these people if they wanted to be martyrs, they would have said no. I think that's not necessarily properly the word to use, or maybe change it and say we consider them, not they are, because a martyr is somebody who, in definition, would be consciously aware of what they're doing, and they were not consciously about that decision. They just didn't have a choice. And I will say that I looked up some of the articles from back in the day, and just going to read one title of an article because, wow, back then they used a lot of words that we now would use not that many words because we want to grab you in like 3 words and not tell you the whole story. So New York Times article for, pretty sure it was the day of the fire because I think the date was the 25th. 141 men and girls die in waste factory fire, trapped high up in Washington Place building, streets strewn with bodies, piles of dead inside. That's just the title of the article.
I mean, at least they got their point across. The
you
thing
need to read the article.
Like, I need to give you incentive to come and read.
Yes.
There's more just like, quick read.
We're going to give you the story. You don't have to actually read the article. So it's one of those things that about. I think most people in this country who have been through public education, though I don't think this is necessarily taught in a formal setting, like we're going to go through the whole story, but I know
it's more just mentioned the general. Hey, this is a big turning point.
Yes, I think there was. I took a technology class when I went back to college. It was about technology from like literally the wheel invention to today. And I think this was part of it. But there's a lot of stories out there, like Mary Fagan. I actually tried looking that up and it kept going to her accused murderer, nothing having to do with her who was killed. And like 10 or 12 working in a factory because things have changed a lot. Kids were working these jobs and making very little money for a very long time and doing very dangerous, unhealthy environments.
Yeah, a lot of kids lost fingers and limbs.
Yes. Or whole bodies because they got stuck
Or
in
yes,
the
they were
machine.
killed.
Yes. But I think it is important to know where some of these changes aren't just because somebody woke up one day and said, you know what? I think we could do better. No, they said we can do better because so many died.
Yeah, that's
So,
a lot of US history and a lot of, I think, world history
yeah.
is, oh crap, you have to lose human life before change. And
Yeah.
not even to go into the politics of it, but like school shootings. There's been so many and nothing has changed. In fact, it's
Yeah.
gotten worse. I feel
Yeah.
like.
And the scary thing is some of the solutions are, oh, let's just arm the teachers. Yeah,
Stupid.
that's not going to make it better. Giving me a gun, knowing that there's a gun in my room doesn't necessarily make it better.
No,
I mean,
because you're tiny.
yeah, I mean, I think me having a gun is more dangerous than me protecting my kids.
Yes, I think that
Um,
especially because there is the sexist aspect, I guess, or bias, because teachers are typically women, and you
we
have a
are.
lot of students, if you're in middle school or high school, that could overpower
Mm-hmm.
your teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that's another training that you guys already have a lot and have to go through a lot of crap, especially as middle school and high school teachers. I mean, elementary you probably have to do some, but not as much.
Yeah, I mean, everything's different depending on what you're doing, but most of my students are bigger than me. So knowing that there's a gun somewhere in my room and they want it, that just don't bring guns into.
Don't
They
bring more
pa-
guns into the equation.
they passed a law in North Carolina like a year ago that said if you are at a school for a function that is not a school function, but you're at like the church group that we have,
Mm-hmm.
if they have concealed carry, they can have their concealed carry.
What the heck?
Yep. So we have, when the church group's there, they take up like most of the first floor. There's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So what if somebody like, so scary to think because that is the law that says you're not here for a school function, so those rules don't apply. If you have concealed carry, you have concealed carry. Yep, and that was like a year ago, I think, that I still bring home like right above the poverty line. So it's okay.
Whoa. Such
It's
fun.
okay. It's okay. But every day is a new adventure, and we learn things new every day to make the world a better place. So go do something extraordinary.